Google released Gemini 3.7 Flash just 8 days after restructuring DeepMind's leadership, showing a company racing against time and internal challenges. The new model arrived only 3 weeks after version 3.6, driven by developer feedback and algorithmic improvements that Google credited to rapid iteration cycles. On Frontier Code 1.1 benchmarks measuring production-grade code quality, 3.7 Flash jumped from 34.4% to 43.6%, a 9-point improvement in just 3 weeks. Deep SWE version 1.1 testing long-cycle software engineering shows the model improved from 49% to 65.3%, demonstrating stronger performance on complex, multi-step coding tasks. Web development capabilities improved significantly, with the model producing more complete functional applications and better reconstructing designs from screenshots and images. On Web Dev Arena benchmarks, the ELO rating climbed from 1.538 to 1.588, outperforming competitor models on web development tasks specifically. Agentic capabilities showed the most dramatic improvements, with Terminal Bench 2.1 advancing from 78% to 85.8% on automated terminal coding tasks. On the harder Terminal Bench 3.0 test designed to break models, performance tripled from 5.4% to 14.9%, still low in absolute terms but showing massive relative progress. Automation bench testing real enterprise workflow scenarios improved from 17% to 34%, showing stronger ability to handle business process automation tasks. OS World 2.0 computer use benchmark jumped from 33.8% to 47.9%, demonstrating improved ability to operate computer systems and navigate interfaces autonomously. Google emphasized tool calling, execution, and long-horizon task completion over traditional metrics like math or knowledge recall on these benchmark lists. The model now adjusts strategy when hitting execution obstacles rather than failing forward, and requests clarification when user intent remains ambiguous. The underlying product philosophy shifted from delivering great first answers to actually finishing jobs end-to-end, reflecting how AI economics must evolve. Market positioning now emphasizes near-frontier capability at cheap model prices and throughput, fundamentally different from competing on raw intelligence alone. Promotional pricing runs through end of year at $0.75 per million input tokens and $3.75 per million output tokens, exactly half of 3.6 Flash's original cost. The promotional window ends December 31st, 2026, after which pricing increases to $1.50 input and $7.50 output, showing Google's deliberate market share acquisition strategy. Agent economics drive token consumption exponentially through multi-step planning, tool calling, retries, and context piping rather than linear growth like chatbots. Whoever runs sufficiently smart models across dozens or hundreds of steps at the lowest cost per step gains real structural competitive advantage in the agent market. Google deployed 3.7 Flash immediately into Gemini Spark, the personal agent for AI Pro and Ultra subscribers, launching with enhanced automation capabilities. Gemini Spark runs in more than 160 countries and regions as an around-the-clock agent, taking actions under user control within sandbox parameters. With 3.7 Flash underneath, Spark handles Google Workspace tool calls for pulling files together, drafting emails, and updating project status documents automatically. Developers access 3.7 Flash through the Gemini API, Google AI Studio, Android Studio, and Antigravity, while enterprises use the Gemini Enterprise Agent platform. The significant gap remains Gemini 3.5 Pro, which Google said in July would launch when ready, yet still carries no public release date or timeline. Google simultaneously claimed Gemini 4 underwent the most ambitious pre-training run in company history, yet that flagship model remains nowhere near launch. Reuters noted that 3.7 Flash launched with zero new information about flagship model timing, adding to the silence around Gemini Pro's delayed availability. On August 5th, Demis Hassabis stepped down as DeepMind CEO to become chairman and Alphabet chief scientist after running the division for years. CTO Kor Kavakwoglu took over daily operations without a CEO title, but as SVP, controlling Gemini R&D and frontier research with Pichai holding final decisions. Internal April meetings had Hassabis telling staff to accelerate Gemini, with the next flagship roughly 2 months late according to internal timelines and plans. Internal testing showed the flagship trailing on coding performance specifically, exactly when coding capabilities mattered most for competitive positioning against rivals. Scarce compute and internal leadership disagreements left the coding team underfunded during critical development phases, when progress was most necessary. Jeff Dean, Sanjay Jemawat, Oriol Vinals, and Kwok Le departed Google to start Discovery Loop, a significant loss of technical leadership for the company. Dean and Vinals were Gemini's original co-technical leads, making their departure particularly significant for the flagship model's development continuity and vision. OpenAI made a contrasting strategic bet on latency rather than cost, previewing ultra-fast, a new API tier running GPT-4.0 at 14 times normal speed. Ultra-fast achieves around 750 output tokens per second on Cerebra's hardware, running the flagship model at conversational speed never previously possible. Ultra-fast isn't a new model, but a new serving method on existing hardware, eliminating the historical trade-off between intelligence and response latency entirely. Until now, real-time responses required dropping to smaller models and accepting intelligence loss. But ultra-fast delivers frontier reasoning with near-instant output simultaneously. Agents requiring 30 seconds thinking before each step remain demos, while agents responding at conversational speed become actual products, driving OpenAI's latency focus. OpenAI targets incident response, debugging, financial research, fraud detection, real-time customer support, and voice interactions with ultra-fast deployment specifically. Early testers including Jane Street, Podium, Basis, and Rogo describe the experience as qualitatively different rather than merely incremental improvement from previous versions. One tester reported that ultra-fast completely changes the call experience for complex work and enables synchronous experiences intelligence previously blocked from running. Cerebra's cuts processors the size of dinner plates from single silicon wafers, placing entire models on one chip instead of sharding across GPU racks, eliminating constant internal data shuttling between racks of NVIDIA GPUs kills most latency between prompt and response, validating Cerebra's architecture argument. Wafer-scale architecture design fits inference workloads far better than chips built primarily for training, a long-standing technical argument finally gaining validation. Cerebra's public listing faced market skepticism about converting wafer-scale ambition into durable profit, making OpenAI validation perfectly timed for credibility rebuilding. Architectures once dismissed as science projects now prove load-bearing in production, reflecting broader industry shift as raw capability gains slow substantially. Competition increasingly focuses on serving models fastest and cheapest rather than raw intelligence, a shift lifting alternative providers like Grok and specialist clouds. OpenAI's ultra-fast move quietly distances the company from total NVIDIA dependency, while advancing its own custom silicon work in parallel development tracks. DeepSeek moved in the opposite direction entirely, formally releasing V4 Pro at $1, 32 per million input tokens, and $3, 96 per million output tokens. V4 Pro costs roughly 9x the input price and 14x the output price compared to V4 Flash at $0, 14 and $0, 28 respectively, a dramatic premium tier. DeepSeek claims V4 Pro substantially improves agent capabilities and deployed it across API, app, and web products simultaneously with price increase announcements. DeepSeek announced raising API pricing on both V4 Pro and Flash while introducing peak and off-peak rates, adding time-based pricing complexity to the model. The V4 Pro Premium exists awkwardly because V4 Flash unexpectedly beat Pro's April preview build on several independent tests, implying backwards performance initially. DeepSeek improved substantially between preview and launch, with finished V4 Pro representing a real step-up over the initial preview version released earlier. Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index scored V4 Pro reasoning at 53 against V4 Flash at 52, blending 9 categories including coding, tool use, and reasoning. DeepSeek became China's most watched AI company after R1 went viral in early 2025, forcing everyone to reconsider whether frontier systems could build cheaper. DeepSeek's market lead has since been squeezed by Moonshot AI, Jipu, Minimax, Alibaba, and ByteDance, representing fierce competitive fragmentation in Chinese AI. Reuters reported DeepSeek planned a raise at approximately $74 billion valuation merely weeks after closing $7.4 billion in its first outside round in June. Avoiding external capital for years, DeepSeek's fundraising reversal reflects competitive pressure and capital requirements for infrastructure scaling at current pace and intensity. DeepSeek stated intentions to at least double headcount across departments including data center and AI agent teams specifically, signaling massive organizational expansion ahead. Reuters reported DeepSeek ramped private hiring of chip design engineers to build proprietary AI chips, reducing dependence on NVIDIA and Huawei supply chains. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay informed of the latest videos.